wine, and for oil, and for the young of the flock, and of the herd, and their soul shall be as a watered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more at all. Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both young men and old together, for I will turn their mourning into joy, and I will comfort them, and make them rejoice from their sorrow. And I will saturate the soul of the priest with fatness, and my people shall be satisfied with my goodness, says Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel, weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children, because they were not. Thus says Yahweh, refrain your voice from weeping, and your eyes from tears, for your work shall be rewarded, says Yahweh, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. And there is hope in your end, says Yahweh, that your children shall come again to their own border. I have surely heard Ephraim bemoaning himself thus, thou hast chastised me, and I was chastised as a bullock unaccustomed to the yoke. Turn thou me, and I shall be turned.
Verse 29.
In those days they shall say no more, the fathers have eaten a sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge. But everyone shall die for his own iniquity. Every man that eateth the sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge. Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehudah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they broke, although I was a husband unto them, says Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, says Yahweh, I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahweh. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, says Yahweh. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
Now this is something Yahweh said, for I will forgive all the things that Israel had done. He said, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sins no more. And we are people that we might think we see iniquity, but then we are not quick to forgive people when we think that they have committed iniquity. We have a tendency to look down on people saying that person there is a sinner, when we are a sinner also. But go ahead and read, brother.
About that 34 too, we got the word teach.
Mm-hmm.
Say don't need to teach. We see we got a bunch of other in Psalms, hymns, and praise.
Mm-hmm.
That could be going on as long as
of course.
time to point.
Of course, brother. You always had instructors. You always had instructors, brother. You're going to always have them. Even from the garden, Adam was the instructor, but he failed. Down through kings, we had instructors, but all of them failed simply because they succumbed to what the people of the land was all about, most of them, instead of what Yahweh was all about. And once we get to succumbing to what man has to say, and man's interpretation of things, and you already got teachers, then what happened is you start teaching, heaping teachers to yourself with itching ears, and then you get caught between two opinions. And once you get caught between two opinions, it causes problems. It causes problems. It's going to cause somebody to fall, and then you're going to end up with somebody's blood on your hands. That's why I tell folks, I tell you what, you do your job, and you allow me to do my job, because I can stand in the breach and you can't. You see? Okay, yeah. Go ahead and finish up, Steve.
Verse 35. Thus says the Most High Elohim, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, says Yahweh, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus says Yahweh, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, says Yahweh.
Okay, my brother. So we see, even though Yahweh had put his people into captivity, he told them that there is hope in your end. So what you do is you do what I tell you to do, and I'm going to bring you back to this land here simply because the holy seed had to be produced and the new, so that the new covenant could be sealed in his blood. Now let's go to Daniel chapter 1, and we're going to spend most of our time today in the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 1, and we're going to pick this up at verse 1 through chapter 2 and verse 49. Daniel chapter 1 and verse 1 through chapter 2 and verse 49. So Daniel was in the captivity, and let's see what Daniel had to say that took place in this captivity.
Verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Yehudah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Adonai gave Jehoiakim, king of Yehudah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of Elohim, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his Elohim. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his Elohim. And the king spoke unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and of the princes.
Now you see who he told him? Bring certain children of Israel and of the king's seed and of the princes, right? Not all the children of Israel, but certain children of Israel, the ones that he could use in his kingdom. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 4. Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom, cunning and knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Yehudah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name of Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego.
Right. We used to have a Negro spiritual we sang about Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 8. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now Elohim had brought Daniel into favor as him to love with the prince of the eunuchs.
Now he did the same thing to our brother Yosef, didn't he? Okay, go ahead. See, Yahweh never leaves his people alone. What he does is he always send his people the things that they need, but you have to understand one thing: people are people. And they're going to make choices. Just like the Messiah told the people in the New Testament, his scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Whatever they tell you to do, that's what you do. Just don't follow their ways, because they tell you to do it, but they ain't going to do nothing. You see. So Yahweh has always had his people in place to do what needs to be done, but the people always had something in their craw that they didn't like. And that's what always caused Jacob's problem. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 10. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who have appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your face worse likened than the children which are of your sort? Then shall you make me endanger my head to the king. Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove your servants, I beg you, 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenances be looked upon before you, and the countenance of the children eat of the portion of the king's meat, and as you see, deal with your servants. So he consented to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them vegetables. As for these 4 children, Elohim gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king.
Now that didn't mean he didn't put other people as his blacksmith and his builders and so forth. These are the brothers that just stood before the king in the king's palace, right? And we know that other folks that was among the children of Israel had problems with these brothers because they was out there doing the laborious work, and these brothers here was hanging around the king's palace, and you know they had something against them for it, don't you? Well, go ahead and read, brother.
Daniel chapter 1, verse 20. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. And Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus.
And that's 70 years. Cyrus was the one that issued the decree to return. So this was a 70-year period. But go ahead and read, brother.
Daniel chapter 2, verse 1. And in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep broke from him. Then Nebuchadnezzar commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And Nebuchadnezzar said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spoke the Chaldeans to Nebuchadnezzar in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream, with the interpretation thereof, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. But if you show the dream and the interpretation thereof, you shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. They answered again and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that you would gain the time, because you see the thing is gone from me. But if you will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you. For you have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me the interpretation thereof. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that acts such thing at any time, at any magician, or astrologer, or Chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requires, and there is none other that can show it before the king, except the gods whose dwelling is not with flesh. For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation.
You see how much faith that brother had? That brother didn't have no idea of what the dream was of anything, but he went in before the king to keep the rest of the brothers from being killed. He went in before the king and said, give me a little time. Just give me a little time, and I'll show you the interpretation. This is the faith that Daniel had in his God. that his God would reveal those things to him so that the children of Israel wouldn't be slaughtered off. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 17. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of the Elohim of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon.
He went right to the right place, didn't he? Went and got the brothers that was with him and told them, said, look, let's entreat Yahweh about this thing here so that we won't die with the rest of these folks here. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 19. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the Elohim of heaven.
Right. It wasn't revealed to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. It was revealed to Daniel, right? But these brothers didn't get bent out of shape about it. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 20. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of Yahweh forever and ever. For wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou Elohim of my fathers, who have given me wisdom and might, and have made known unto me now what we desired of you, for you have now made known unto us the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Yehudah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation.
Yeah, brother, he won a reward for that. He didn't go to Daniel. Daniel went to him. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 26. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Are you able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof? Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king have demanded, the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers cannot show unto the king. But there is a Elohim in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to King Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed are these.
Right, he say, now this thing here ain't for right now, but this is for the latter days, right? Now we're living in the latter days right now, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 29. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into your mind upon your bed, what shall come to pass hereafter? And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to you what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that you might know the thoughts of your heart.
This thing ain't revealed to me so that I can have a lot of knowledge, but these things are revealed of you so that you can know what the thoughts of your heart are, because Yahweh is getting ready to do something to you, boy. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 31. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before you, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron, and part of clay.
Okay, so this what he saw was in 4 different sections, wasn't it? Right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 34. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and broke them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and fill the whole earth.
Okay, now we notice he said a stone was cut out without hands, but it didn't smite this image upon his head. It smote this image upon his feet, right? And destroyed it by smiting it upon his feet. So we know that it wasn't the first, second, and third kingdom that the smiting stone was going to smite. It would be the last kingdom, the feet of it, the 10 toes, the things that we see and set up today, and that Revelations told us about, the thing that we call the EU. We can see it coming together now. So we know, because we see it together, coming together, we know what's going to happen to it. The Messiah is going to tear that thing up. The Messiah will end the reign of the Gentiles on this earth. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 36. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O Nebuchadnezzar, art a king of kings, for the Elohim of heaven have given you a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven have he given into your hand, and have made you ruler over them all.
Hold up, brother. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Verse 37. Thou, O Nebuchadnezzar, art a king of kings, for the Elohim of heaven have given you a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven have he given into your hand, and have made you ruler over them all. You are this head of gold.
You are this head of gold, Nebuchadnezzar. This is the empire. You are this head of gold. Now, he ain't going to smite you on your head. Somebody else going to tear you up. But you this head of gold. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 39. And after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to you, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise.
Now, we know that the Roman Empire fell in 476. It broke in pieces and it bruised, right? And they divided among everybody but us. So go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as you saw the iron mixed with miry clay.
Mm-hmm.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
Right, because every man is in his own country. Everybody has his own values in his own country, and it has caused wars from the dawn of time among men. But go ahead and read it.
So, Elder, this is part of what's going on in part of Europe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ethnic cleansing?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We saw that up in Kosovo, didn't we?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Also, didn't Alexander when you read some of the Josephus, he wanted to have a Eurasian state, had his army to marry with other nations.
Mm-hmm. And folks say no. It was just like back during the 60s, we had some school teachers that had talked to the school board, and they wanted to teach Ebonics in school. Folks say, y'all ain't got no language. Never did that. But you see what happened, regardless to how smart, regardless to what school our kids go to, the kids is the one that carry that Ebonics thing on. You know why? It fits them. They like it. It fits them. And what it does is it separates us from other people. It does give us another language, doesn't it? Okay. Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Mm-hmm.
For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great Elohim have made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
Mm-hmm.
Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him.
Right. But he was ready to throw, a little later on, he was ready to throw Daniel in the lion's den, wasn't it? And in that fiery furnace, wasn't it? Right. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 47. The king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your Elohim is an Elohim of Elohims, and an Adonai of kings, and a revealer of secrets, seeing you could reveal the secret. Then Nebuchadnezzar made Daniel a great man, and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king.
Okay, my brother. As we see, the Elohim of Israel had cast the house of Samaria out of his sight. Yet, to continue to keep the covenant to our fathers pertaining to the holy seed and his purpose and far-reaching exploits, the Elohim visited the house of Yehudah, his present plant, of the king's seed, and of the princes of Benjamin and Levi, and to the remainder of these tribes, Elohim added Yirmiyahu, Ezekiel, Ezra, Zerubbabel, and Yeshua, the high priest of the restoration. These are the servants who were raised up to be the voices of that captivity, even to the first resurrection. Purpose, I say. Every soul that is called to service has a purpose. Now let's go into chapter 3, my brother, and I want you to read verse 1 through verse 30.
Well, Elder, what you see then at Daniel, he was more like a house servant working in the king's palace, and how you have the slavery that people fight the ball instead of you working in his house and wanting to feed. There's nothing you can do with that because you're captive.
Right. It was the king that made Daniel second ruler in the province. It was the king that did it. It made Daniel his prime minister. Why? Because Yahweh had brought Daniel into favor with the king, not Daniel. It was Yahweh that had did that, you see. And this is what I tell people. When Yahweh is doing something, pay attention to what he's doing and keep your mouth shut. You might see something. Yeah, because it's Yahweh that guides things. It's Yahweh that does what he wants to do in this earth. We're just pawns, like Isaiah called us, worms. We just little worms just around here, just wiggling around, bumping all up into each other, not understanding that we all worms. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Daniel, chapter 3, verses 1 through 30. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon.
Now remember what he just told Daniel now. Your God is God of gods, right? But this is why I tell folks, you can't serve Yahweh unless he wants you to. You see what Nebuchadnezzar went made in an image, didn't he? Go ahead, brother. Right. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up.
Mm-hmm.
Then the princes, the governors and captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up, and they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then an herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kind of music, you fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king have set up.
Mm-hmm.
And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kind of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Wherefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. they spake and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, have made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O Nebuchadnezzar, have not regarded you. They serve not your Elohims, nor worship the golden image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not you serve my Elohims, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if you be ready, that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kind of music, you fall down and worship the image which I have made, well. But if you worship not, you shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that Elohim that shall deliver you out of my hand? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer you in this matter. If it be so, our Elohim whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto you, O king, that we will not serve your Elohims, nor worship the golden image which you have set up. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was accustomed to be heated. Verse 20. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of Man.
Right. So there's an angel in there with him, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 26. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you servants of the Most High Elohim, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. And the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being together, saw these men, upon whose body the fire had no power, nor was a hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the Elohim of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who have sent his angel, and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any Elohim except their own
Praise
Elohim.
Yah.
Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the Elohim of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other Elohim that can deliver after this sort. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon.
Okay, my brother. Now, this shows us that although favor is shown to the wicked, yet lepers cannot change their spots. Regardless of what the Spirit reveals to them or how much good they do towards Yahweh's anointed, a disguised tear is still a tear and will try to pass himself off as a tear. Chapter 4, and pick that up at verse 1 through verse 37, brother.
You know, Elder, that was a prime example of scary religion being imposed on the brother.
Of course it was. Of course it was, brother. And that's the worst thing that people can do is force religion on you. And that's just what they've done. That's just what they've done, brother. But you see what Yahweh did in that, don't you? He delivered those that he chose to deliver. You see. But go ahead and read, brother. See, that's why I always tell folks, man, be careful what you say to people. Because you don't know where they stand with their God. You may think you know, but you don't know where they stand with their God. So be careful what you say to people.
When Daniel was making the interpretation of the dream known to the king, if you look at the way that he spoke to the king, he could have very easily came in, oh man, Yahweh gonna tear all this up. You gonna send these people in here, man, you through.
Mm-hmm.
But in the way that you speak to people, oftentimes determines what kind of a result that's going to have. You could have very easily said, man, you all but done, homie.
Right. Right. See, when Yahweh give you a message, brother, what you have to do is you can't paraphrase that message. See, you got to give it just like it was delivered to you. If you paraphrase it, people might get it, but you didn't do what you told, so you're still in trouble with your God, right? Okay, it's catch-22, ain't it? Okay. Check.
I was to say that of the three brothers, that bad Negro was probably the most defiant.
Who?
That bad Negro. He was the most defiant.
Yeah, I heard that one too, bro. I heard that one too. Okay, chapter 4, and pick that up at verse 1.
Nebuchadnezzar the king, unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the YAH Elohim have wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation.
But he still haven't thrown Daniel in the lion's den yet, has he? Yeah, go ahead and read, brother. See, people like to bite off the hand that feed them. See, when they think they're doing okay, they're quick to bite off the hand that feeds them. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 4. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told them the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at the last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my Elohim, and in whom is the spirit of the holy Elohims. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy Elohims is in you, and no secret troubles you, tell me the vision of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shelter under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and a holy one came down from heaven. He cried aloud and said, Hew down the tree and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves, and scatter his fruit, that the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him.
Let 7 times pass over him, but 7 times would also pass over his kingdom, right? Okay, times we know is a year, right? Go ahead and read, brother.
Back there with the stump, speaking about giving her the second time, because you root it up, the stump, it can grow again.
Yes, if you leave it if you root it up, if you root the stump up, it won't grow. But if you leave it in the earth and you keep it watered and fertilize and nurture it, it will grow again. It'll start to sprout different. It may not go back to what it was before, but it'll sprout out different leaves on it. Okay. Go ahead.
Verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the words of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation. But you are able, for the spirit of the holy Elohims is in you. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble you. Belteshazzar answered and said, My lord, the dream be to them that hate you, and the interpretation thereof to your enemies.
This dream is not about you. This dream be to them that hate you, and the interpretation thereof to your enemies, the empires that would come upon the Babylonian Empire. Those were his enemies. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 20. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowl of the heavens had their habitation. It is you, O king, that are grown and become strong. For your greatness is grown and reaches unto the heaven, and your dominion to the end of the earth. And whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one coming down from heaven, and saying, Hew the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon my lord the king, that they shall drive you from men, and your dwelling shall be with the beast of the field, and they shall make you to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet you with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over you, till you know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will.
So he told him that 7 times would pass over Nebuchadnezzar, which 7 years did pass over Nebuchadnezzar. But seeing that this was due to his enemies, we see that Nebuchadnezzar's real enemies would be those who hated him, who were the Russians or the Persians or the Medo-Persian Empire. Now he told him 7 times was going to pass over this empire, right? So if you write down 365 and multiply it by 7, what you come up with?
25.
You got 2,555, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can do it with 360 because it's the original day, that's the original days in the calendar. But what you have to do is you have to go back and figure out when they changed the calendar to 365 days. Then you have to add up all of those years, and the best way would be to do it would just put on the 2520, right? Now we know that the Medo-Persian Empire came in on the Babylonian Empire in 539 BC, right? Okay. Time came down from 539 BC to 0. Now it's up to 2004, right? Now if you add 539 to that 2004, and you come up with 2,543 years, right? Plus you add the 3.5 years of tribulation, and the 3.5 years of great tribulation, and you come up with 2,550 years, right? Plus you have to add the 365 days, which is 1 year, that the Caesars added to the first Gregorian calendar, and the 4 years that they added to the beginning of the book of Genesis. It started in 4004, and they added 4 years in the beginning, right? And you should come up with 2,520 years. 2,555 years, rather. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, after 2,555 years of European rule, the master, the stone cut out without hands, will violently set the Davidic kingdom on the earth in Holy Mount Zion. Now, let's go into Daniel 7 and pick up something else that Daniel had to say about this. Daniel 7, and pick that up at verse 1 through chapter 8 and 27. Daniel 7, and verse 1 through chapter 8 and verse 27.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, divers one from another.
Now, as he explained this, it's right there on that chart right there. All you have to do is follow that chart. Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to him.
Now, we know that this is Nebuchadnezzar because he was driven out for the 7 years, and after the 7 years, he was given the heart of a beast. And after 7 years, he was given the heart of a man and brought back in his kingdom and given more majesty and honor than he had before, right? Okay, go ahead. So we know that that's talking about the first empire that came on the earth in 606 BC, the Babylonian Empire. But it had one ruler. Right? So it only had one head. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
So now we see the Medo-Persian Empire come in on the Babylonian Empire, right? But they actually ended up with one head over that empire, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
So Alexander the Great came in, and after he died, his kingdom was divided up among his 4 generals. This is why this kingdom had 4 heads. So far, you had 1 head in the 4th beast, 4th verse, 1 head, another head in the 2nd verse, and here, in the 5th verse, and then in the 6th verse, we had 4 heads. They gave us 6 heads, right? Go ahead, brother.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured, broke in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
It had 10 horns. It had 10 horns, but it only had 1 head. The Caesars were the head. So we know that this, what it's talking about now, is the Holy Roman Empire that would come up on earth. So far, you got 7 heads, right? And 10 horns, right? When you get in Revelations 12 and read about the things that covered Satan, it was 7 heads and 10 horns and 10 crowns. Okay. So we know that these empires were the empires that was brought upon the earth by the adversary, the devil, for one purpose and one purpose alone, to chasten Israel, God's chosen people. Go ahead and read, brother.
I'm also the 7 days that the horse of the planet, right?
That has to do right now is dealing with political Babylon. It hasn't dealt with ecclesiastical Babylon. When we get in Revelation, that the 7 heads that deal with ecclesiastical Babylon. It gives us a geographical location, and we know that once we got kicked out of the land, we know what happened before Rome fell. Then neither one of the 7 churches that Paul set up exist. They had all succumbed to the Holy Roman Empire, right? Okay. Go ahead, Steve.
Verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there was 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
Now we see this other little horn, this other ecclesiastical horn that comes up. And when you read history, you find out that once Rome fell, Justinian, allied with Pope St. Leo, and the Hurons, the Vandals, and that's on that chart there. The Hurons, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths began to sack the Holy Roman Empire, and horn number 4, Justinian, allied with Pope St. Leo, and they plucked those 3 horns up by the roots. Okay. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire.
Mm-hmm.
A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened.
Mm-hmm.
I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time.
Mm-hmm.
I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
So Yahweh showed Daniel not only the 4 kingdoms that was going to be set up on the earth, but he also showed him the last kingdom that the Most High is going to set on the earth to govern the earth with the son that was promised Dawid. But go ahead.
That the previous prophecy has been fulfilled, only a fool would not come to the conclusion that the prophecy is going to be fulfilled in the future.
Brother, let me tell you something. How can they learn except they have a teacher? Okay, that's why people don't see it. They do not have a teacher to see it. And then, too, you have to look at that another way. You can sit up and reveal these secrets to people, brother. And you know what happened? You become the enemy because you know more than they do. See, the Messiah said, watch. And you try to teach people how to prepare their souls and how to watch. But because you are a sinful man just like everybody else, folks find fault with you just like they find fault with the Messiah. And they find fault with Yahweh's ordination of things. See, that's why you have a whole lot of junk going in the church about different things, brother, because folks do not fear the true and living God, and folks have no respect for those that he sends. They don't know what Yahweh has done for them. See, people don't care. Jake don't care. Jake won't hear any way he can get it, and he want to do anything he want to do with it. And sometimes, brother, when you get something, it's best that you don't use it all on yourself. It's best that you turn around and say, well, that brother over there needs this, that sister over there needs that family over there needs this, and you end up with nothing. But they got what they needed, didn't you? Well, then you got what you need then. If you gave it all away, it's because you didn't need it, wasn't it? And you think Yahweh isn't going to turn you a blessing for that? But see, people won't see that. You know what they say? Your best friend said, man, that nigga was a fool, man. Don't they? Right. You know why? You open your hand wide to your brother. And you're going to find out, brother, in a lot of cases, when you open your hand wide to your brother, he's going to bite it. You're going to help him up, help him stand up on his own 2 feet. And when you look around, he's around someplace stabbing you in the back. Right. But see, they think they're doing you some harm. It's not you that they're dealing against. It's their creator. But because they can't see their creator, they go on in their unrighteousness. You know why? The dog has returned to his own vomit, and the sow that was washed to a watering in the mire.
It's almost like they're called in a catch-22. God has not opened up their eyes so that they can see that they are the people of God, but yet still, by you being sent to them and explaining to them, they watch you. Everything that you do, they'll know more about what you do and what you should be doing than what you know. And so at the same time that they can watch and see if something happens to you. And like you said, as soon as they get an opportunity, they will stab you right in the back.
Of course, my brother. You know why? Everybody who says Lord, Lord is not talking about the same one that you're talking about.
Yes.
The people that say Lord, Lord, brother, you heard me say quite a few times, we got a lot of family in here, but we got some cousins too. And you know what we think about cousins? You can marry cousins, can't you? So we know cousins ain't really family. But we call them cousins, don't they? Don't. They ain't family. You ain't no kin to me. You see, that's what happens, brother. Yeah.
Would you say that probably while the Romans tried to place the responsibility on the crucifixion of the Messiah was because they were aware of whom he was and wanted to wash them hands of the wrath of YAH in doing so?
You know who they blame for that? Us. You know why? Yahweh blamed us for it. He told us on the 14th day of the first, on the 10th day of the first month, you should take a lamb and put him up to the 14th day of the first month, and you shall kill him in the evening. Right? So we had to do that. We had to do that. So the Romans weren't, the Romans were never blamed. See, it was Esau, after they took over as Jews, it was Esau that they started calling Christ killers. See, us, we African Americans, don't nobody want to bother with us. But somebody had took our place with power, and it's Esau that they call Christ killers. They'll tell them in a minute, yeah, y'all kill off the Christ. You see, what they were supposed to do, they had to follow the law. It wasn't anything that they were doing. What was happening was that Yahweh was doing his will upon the earth, and man just didn't see that it was Yahweh instead of himself. See, when we get off, we ourselves, a lot of times we get off into a lot of things and we follow our own pernicious ways, our own stupid mind. This ain't my thing. What happened to my charger that was up here? Well, I'm damn. Somebody took the end off the charger. Niggas. Go on and read, Steve.
Daniel, chapter 7, verse 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of the thing. These great beasts, which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
Right. It didn't say nobody going to be switched off to heaven. It said the saints of the Most High is going to take this kingdom. So that means that the saints of the Most High is going to have to go to war against the rulers of this earth then, doesn't it? This is why we need Yahweh's protection, man. We ain't got no army. We don't know how to fight. They bring us a bomb in here and say, assemble this here, we blow up the whole church. And we know it, you see. So we need Yahweh's protection because we are not warriors. We are really a peaceful people when you get right down to it. As a matter of fact, we're the only people on the face of the earth that's been at peace with all the nations of the earth for the past 2,000 years. Yeah, but go ahead and read, Steve.
Verse 19. Then I will know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, broke in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellow.
Now this guy here, now he talking he's on a religious kick. Now his religion, his look is more stouter than the other fellows, because he's the one that's propping up the other fellows. Go ahead and read, brother.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 21. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom.
Amen.
Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. And another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverged from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings.
Mm-hmm.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand unto 3½ years.
Verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, right? Talking that pagan religion they dealing with. We know what happened. Even before the apostles, while the apostles were still living, they had started calling them Christians, didn't they? Folks had started doing what, if you get back and read about the problem that the things that the Messiah had against some of those Gentile churches, man, they had what had become idea in one church had become a doctrine in the other one. You see, so they were against what was being taught at that time. Satan didn't stop working just because the Messiah died. He got in high gear. Because now he had to use this book to bring his thing upon earth. He couldn't use nothing else. I mean, you always have a bunch of people that's going to be pagan, but when you got people that read this book here, the biggest problem you find with folks is this. There's no respect of persons with God, and that you don't have to do nothing he say. See, and it says, he shall wear out the saints of the Most High. It was the Gentiles that put us in, the Christians brought us over in this captivity, and think to change times and laws. They changed the beginning of the year. They changed the Sabbath day from Saturday to Sunday, and gave us all this garbage that we have, right? And they shall be given into his hand for 3½ years during the great tribulation period, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
You know, Elder, when people read the 4th kingdom, they don't feel understand these people are Europeans are cultural extensions from Rome, you know?
Right.
That's what we know, and we still live in the last league of Rome, you know?
Right. See, then you have to understand another thing too, brother. When you read those 4 kingdoms, a lot of people like to say that the Gentiles is all the nations. But when you read those 4 kingdoms, the last 3 kingdoms was run by Gentiles, right? That's why he said, prepare war among the Gentiles. They the one going to be in power. They're going to be ruling over all the other nations. Okay. Go ahead and finish up, Steve.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 26. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end.
Mm-hmm.
And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him.
Now, these Christians tell you, especially the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're talking about, well, do you believe that this is a literal kingdom? I say, hell, the 4 empires that came over the earth, weren't they literal kingdom? Aren't we living in a divided Roman Empire now? What you mean? So Yahweh going to come and set up something spooky. But he's going to tell you exactly what he's going to do. Well, that's kind of kingdom you think he's going to set up. And then the Gentiles say, well, Yahweh didn't mean that. See, y'all reading that Old Testament. He didn't mean none of that stuff in the Old Testament. Christ nailed all of that to the cross. Why? Because it told you, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey them. The Gentiles know how they treated you. See? And they figure when you get in power, y'all know how Jake do things. Jake like to showboat. They think if you get in power, they're going to be in big trouble. But you know what? The righteous is going to be in power. Okay.
The elder also, when I read the book of Josephus, the essential writings, when Alexander came to Jerusalem, he saw the high priest kissed him on his forehead, and he saw the same vision in the dream that he was going to rule the world. When he read the book of Daniel, the priest took him in the temple and showed the book of Daniel about him of the what they call the horn of him. I can't remember, but he knew that it was going to be him. So when he saw the priest, he didn't make war with him.
Right.
You know, so they're saying they didn't know they used this book. This book is still going on.
Out of the kings that came up to rule there, who was it that didn't plunge the temple? Who's Alexander the Great? Not in the ranks. Okay. Okay, go ahead and finish up, Steve.
Verse 28. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much trouble me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first.
Now remember Nebuchadnezzar came in 606, right? Now we down to 555 BC. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 2. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of YAH.
So we know by him saying he was in Elam, we know that he's in what's called today Iran, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will, and became great.
So he's talking about the Medo-Persian Empire, the ram, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with anger against him, and smote the ram and broke his 2 horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Alexander the Great come in, and it wasn't nothing. He conquered the earth. This is why he was called a leopard. He conquered the earth in less time than any other leader, 12 years. And he came and ran into the 2 horns of the Medo-Persian Empire and broke that notable horn, didn't he? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 8. Verse 9, I'm sorry. Verse 8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
Okay, so we know that Alexander the Great died of malaria, and once Alexander the Great died, we know that it was 4 emperors that took over the land. The Ptolemies ruled from Egypt, the Seleucids ruled from Syria, Cassander ruled from Russia, and Lucimanus ruled from Macedonia, and out of Lucimanus, this is where the Caesars came. Remus and Romulus was given the credit of building Rome, and we know that the Roman Empire came out of those people. Alexander the Great, those were the 4 heads that were set up on the earth, and the Ptolemies that inherited Egypt. A lot of us think Cleopatra was a black woman, but if you check your history, Cleopatra was not a black woman. She was the son of for me, she was a Greek. Okay. Go ahead now, read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land.
Now we're talking about the ecclesiastical Babylon. We're talking about the church now. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 10.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. I saw a sister on TV, brother, had came up there from that AU Center. She was a graduate from AU Center, and she had some kids out there talking about, you know, they're descendants of Cleopatra and all them folks. And I'm looking at these black kids and knowing what color Cleopatra was, and the only thing I say now, see how stupid this is? You see how stupid this is? This is why our people are dumb. They don't teach them nothing in school. The people in school run over things, just like when they get Black History Month.
Oh, man.
They think our history started right here in this country, because that's what they're all about. And I've been to several schools, and some of my kids have asked the people to let me speak at school on Black History Month. Guess what? It ain't happened yet. You know why? Folks watch that TV, bro. Okay. Folks know I'm the enemy, and they know I will come into school and upset them kids in the classroom. They know
Kids are probably enjoying it. Parents and the teachers probably.
Oh, well, you know you're going to get some repercussion coming from the parents, because the kids going to talk to the parents about what was said, some of the things that they can remember that was said in church. And you know, them parents gonna go up to the school, are called up to the school, and raise all kind of hell. You know why? They like Santa Claus. Okay, yeah. Go on and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 10. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary cast down. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered.
And it is prospering today. They're building these big monstrosities they call churches, brother. They're building them faster than George Bush building prisons. And he building one a week. Y'all can look at that. Bill Clinton built more prisons than any other president. And George Bush is topping him. You know why? They're getting ready to warehouse us, man. If you don't think so, go down to DeKalb County and ask them how many black prisoners they got there. They're getting ready to start. Once they replacing us, once they get to snatching that economic rug off from under us a little shorter, we got to do something, ain't we? Why you think they fortified themselves all around the expressway, build those containment walls? Why you think they got cameras running all around the perimeter and everything, and all up and down the streets? You know why? They're going to contain us. They're going to contain us because their desire is not just to destroy a few, but to destroy our whole seed, because the nation's saying that they are Israel. Yeah. And who needs us? We don't do nothing. We don't add nothing to the GNP, right? We ain't got nothing on the stock market, not as people, right? So we become total consumers. So who needs us? Yeah. We've been over here 400 years and ain't doing nothing. Ain't doing nothing. We've been over here 400 years, and here Julio come up here, and you see him up and working everywhere. And Jake standing up across the street looking. Right. Wearing all them big numbers and false names. Them niggas done paid $75 for a damn t-shirt. See? They too cool. And Julio taking over everything, and we do not see. And because of the education our kids is getting in the school system and in church, our people do not see that we are right at the doors, the very doors of the Great Tribulation period. Yeah. Go ahead and read, Steve. That's why I tell folks, man, I ain't got time to mess with what you think. If you don't want to do what we're doing, just get on up out of here. Don't start no trouble, because we got a job to do. These people depending on their salvation, and they know that they're going to have to get that job done. You can worship most as you want to. Satan worship God. Now check that out. So what is worship going to do for you? Yeah. Go on and read, brother.
Verse 13. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days.
3.5 years. After 3.5 years, then all this thing gonna be over with. Go ahead, brother.
Then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And it came to pass when I, even I Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of YAH, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision.
See, you see how Yahweh does things to his servants? You know what he does? He sends angels to him. So you can't make no mistake about what's going on. You know why? Too many souls are at stake. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 17. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me...
Hold up, brother. Anybody got any batteries? Anybody got any AA batteries? Niggas?
Yes,
who? It might be in here. Niggas. They know what I do at this tape recorder, and folks come in here and pull in out of it. Know damn well they can't even pick the teeth with it. Then folks be wondering why I be in a huff and puff about stuff sometimes. Yeah. I think I missed about half of what was being said, but I'll get back to this. I'm trying to put together a series that we can download on some CDs and sell the CDs, but look like we're getting kind of hampered in that too. So, like I said, Satan walking around like a roaring lion trying to devour all that he can, and we give him all the opportunities he wants. Yeah, go ahead and read, brother. Appreciate the batteries, brother.
Danielle.
Yeah. Here's some cheap batteries. Maybe cheap batteries. Go to read, brother. They ain't nothing. There ain't nothing, brother. Give me some cheap batteries. These folks walk around here want to slay me. Go ahead and read, brother.
Daniel chapter 8, verse 15. And it came to pass when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of YAH, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision.
Mm-hmm.
So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face.
Mm-hmm.
But he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision.
Right, and scared that brother to death. And that's what happens when one of the saints of God come to you. It'll startle you because you don't expect them to be there. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 18. Now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright.
You see what happened? That angel came up to that brother. That brother passed out. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
You can tell some of these so-called prophets that have not seen or dealt with men of the Spirit or men of God when God has sent them down there, because they would be more humble within their spirit, and the way that they would carry themselves would be a hell of a lot different than what they do.
Of course, brother. But see, Jake does not fear man or God. You believe that?
You fear white man.
Huh?
You fear white man.
Of course you do. Of course you do, brother. You see that on your job. See, the white folks pay y'all. Y'all go to work and white folks say, in your case, you're a teacher, right? Mm-hmm. White folks tell you, say, you teaching in this class, I don't want you to teach this class no more. I want you to go in and teach that class. What you do?
I outrun.
Teach that class, right? Folks come over here, and some folks I say, well, I don't want you to do this. I want you to do over that. You know what they do? They go do what they want to do. But they expect to get paid. Right. Right. Go ahead, brother.
You know, and also when the disciples asked Yahshua what we can get for doing all this.
Mm-hmm.
And he told him he's the judge in the kingdom of judge 12:30.
Of course. Of course, brother. That's why I tell folks, I used to say all the time, I stopped saying it because somebody went to West Germany with it. But I used to tell folks all the time, I say, I don't know about you, but my salvation already sealed. See, I already talked with who I need to talk to. I don't care what I don't know what you're doing, but I already talked with who I need to talk to. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 19. And he said, behold, I will make you know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. For at the time appointed, the end shall be.
Mm-hmm.
The ram which you saw having 2 horns are the kings of Russia and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Greece, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
Mm-hmm.
Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
The Roman Catholic Church, the Christian Church. These the one that his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He has the power of the adversary, the devil. See. Mm-hmm. Sure. Even the kings of the earth, they got their soothsayers. Okay. Ronald Reagan wouldn't even make a telephone call unless he called that woman his soothsayer. George Bush do the same thing. All the kings of the earth, brother, dabble off into pharmaceuticals, sorceries. All the kings of the earth dabble off into those sorceries and so forth. You know why? They know who it is that they serve, brother. They go to church with their little books in their hand, but look at their deeds and you can very well see. They say, well, we got a separation of church and state. How the hell can you separate the church from the state? That don't make sense. Go on and read, brother.
They're going to jump on me, and they went to, I said, and there ain't going to be no butt whipping around here now, because I'm an adult. Mm-hmm. A little boy had turned in his spelling words, and no name was on it. And I told him, I said, now here's a kid made good on his spelling. I said, but I don't know who it is. I tore it up and threw it in the trash. He said, let me see it. And he went in the trash and got it. He said, that's my paper. So he goes and called his mama. Mama's called, come up there. This is Israel. Did you tear up Victor's paper and throw it in the trash? I said, I sure did. Why did you do that? I said, because I'm not Miss Cleo. I can't read his name. If the name is not on there, I can't read it.
Right. Ain't that something? You want to come up here and raise
yes.
You see, that's why we have problems in the school system with things, brother, simply because them parents will come up there and jump in them teachers' chest knowing that little niggas are wrong all the time. But they're going to defend them, ain't they?
That's what he should have told you to explain to him what took place. I said there was no name on it. I made the remark about whoever had this had made a good score. I said, but I don't know who to give it to. I tore it up and threw it in the trash. Mm-hmm. I said, that's what he should have told you. But he's going to get the grade once he made known to me it was his paper. Mm-hmm. But like I told her, I'm not Miss Cleo.
You can't read folks' minds, and people expect you to bend over backwards, especially a lot of time when it's dealing with their children, and they know all the time. Them children acting the same way at school that they act when you tell them to do something. Right? Okay. They'll never get done. Then they walk around talking about, I love you. No, you love you. Okay. You love you, and you're going to use me because you know I'm your parent. You're going to use me to get anything you want. Well, I'm through. Cut.
I had another one who claimed that. And in Hebrew Israelite, we got to talking, but she been going to them Edomites church. Mm-hmm. I mean, she had studied under them for 8 years. And I promised her, I said, I'm going to do all I can to work with your daughter. But that daughter was determined that she was not going to let me work with her. And then last Wednesday, they took out of my class. She said, Mr. Israel, I know the problem. So you picking on my daughter. You singing her out. I said, ma'am, that's not true. I said, if your daughter would do what I asked her to do, or tell her to do, I said, that would be no problem. No, you singling her out. You singling her. You making her get in trouble. I said, she's doing a good job by that by herself.
That's the problem, brother. Folks want to do what they want to do regardless of what you say do. They're going to do what they want to do, and that's where the problem is caused at. And then folks look around and then try to get other folks, walk around politicking trying to get other folks on their side and know they're wrong.
I think she's going to try to get me fired.
Well, it won't be the first time, brothers, folks been trying to get you fired.
Right.
It won't be the first time, so you know what that's all about. Go ahead now, please. Because who you serve.
Oh, yeah. That's what YAH tell me. She said, it's because of who you are.
Who you are and who you serve, and you know it. They don't like it. Go ahead and finish up, Steve.
Daniel chapter 8, verse 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand.
Religion is a craft. Go ahead, brother.
And he shall magnify himself in his heart.
Right, I am Pope, Papa. Right, I'm ruler of all the churches. Go ahead, brother.
And by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
Right, and you see what the nations are doing, man. They're running all over town. We got to put peace in these folks' land. We got to put peace in these folks' land. How the hell can the nations have peace and Israel over here getting ready to be destroyed? Go on and read, brother.
Verse 26. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut you up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood.
Amen. Now the image, the tree, and the dream of the beast, these are the four final empires that the Europeans or Gentiles of Yaphet of Genesis 10 would govern on the earth. Daniel 7 tells us of the last four empires and that the people whom they destroyed will take the fourth kingdom from them. Revelation 13 tells us that they are reviving the so-called Holy Roman Empire. And Revelations 18 and 20 tells us that the Lion of Yehudah, the root and offspring of David, Yeshua, will return and overthrow this final kingdom that Lucifer was allowed to bring upon the earth. Daniel didn't understand these prophecies because the visions were sealed up until the time of the end. But since the late 60s, these prophecies has been opened. Many priests have been sent to the house of Israel, and those called and chosen hear what the Spirit says in Holy Convention. You know them by their fruits. Now, let's go into chapter 9 and read verse 1 through verse 27, my brother.
Verse 1. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Russians, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years, whereof the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolation of Jerusalem. And I set my face unto the YAH Elohim to seek by prayer and supplications with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed unto Yahweh my Elohim, and made my confession, and said, O Adonai, the great and dreadful Elohim, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him, and to them that keep his commandments, we have sinned, and have committed iniquity, and have done wickedly, and have rebelled even by departing from your precepts and from your judgments.
Right, he didn't say the people have sinned and I'm clean. He said we have sinned. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6. Neither have we hearkened unto your servants the prophets, which spake in your name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Adonai, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day. To the men of Yehudah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Yisrael that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither you have driven them, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against you. O Adonai, to us belongeth confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against thee. To the Adonai, our Elohim, belong mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of Yahweh, our Elohim, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed your law, even by departing, that they might not obey your voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, because we have sinned against him. And he hath confirmed his words which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moshe, all this evil is come upon us. Yet made we not our prayer before Yahweh our Elohim, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand your truth.
You know why? They thought they was walking all in righteousness. So why turn to your Creator and admit that your weaknesses, huh? You think you're greater than everybody else. You're more holier than thou. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 14. Therefore have Yahweh watched upon the evil and brought it upon us.
Amen.
For Yahweh our Elohim is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we obeyed not his voice. And now, O Adonai our Elohim, that have brought your people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and have gotten you renowned, as at this day, we have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Adonai, according to all your righteousness, I beseech you, let your anger and your fury be turned away from your city, Jerusalem, your holy mountain. Because for our sins and for the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and your people are become a reproach to all that are about us. Now therefore, O our Elohim, hear the prayer of your servant and his supplications, and cause your face to shine upon your sanctuary that is desolate for the Adonai's sake. O my Elohim, incline your ear and hear. Open your eyes and behold our desolations and the city which is called by your name. For we do not present our vocations before you for our righteousnesses, but for your great mercy.
Praise Yah.
O Adonai, hear. O Adonai, forgive. O Adonai, hearken and do. Defer not for your own sake, O my Elohim, for your city and your people are called by your name. And whilst I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before Yahweh my Elohim for the holy mountain of my Elohim, yea, whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in a vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give you skill and understanding. At the beginning of your supplications, the commandment came forth, and I am come to show you. For you are greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon your people and upon your holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy.
He told him 7 things that was going to befall the children of Israel. He said, verse 24, 70 weeks are determined upon your people and upon the holy city. That's one thing, right? To finish the transgression, that's 2. And to make an end of sin, that's 3. And to make reconciliation for iniquity, that's 4. And to bring in everlasting righteousness, 5. And to seal up the vision of the prophecy, and the prophecy, 6. And to anoint the most holy. So he told him 7 things that was going to happen in that 70 weeks. You notice he didn't say 70 years. He said 70 weeks. So these are weeks of years. Okay? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks.
So it'll be 69 weeks before from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to rebuild Jerusalem to the Messiah the Prince would be 69 weeks of years, right? Go ahead, brother.
The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined.
Verse 26, and after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off. He taught 3.5 years, and he got cut off at the end. He came in 69 weeks, and he taught 3.5 years, and then he got cut off, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abomination he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
Okay, my brother, now what we want to do, let's go in the book of Ezra, and we're going to find out when the commandment went forth. Ezra chapter 7 and verse 1 through verse 28. Ezra was one of the brothers in the captivity. Ezra, Nehemiah, those brothers was together, but Esther and Mordecai, now they were someplace else. And it don't give too much detail of what was happening. It gives a few things that was happening, but Daniel gave you the whole picture of what was going to take place, not just then, but even up to the coming of the Messiah. Okay, Ezra chapter 7, and pick that up, my brother, at verse 1.
Yes.
Now, if y'all got a good book, verse 1 got a book date by it, right? It's got 457 BC. The reason why they put this book date there is because this is the date that's actually on the decree that was signed. It was in 457 BC. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 1. Now after these things, in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Ezra, the son of Seraiah, the son of Azariah, the son of Hilkiah, the son of Shallum, the son of Zodok, the son of Ahitub, the son of Amariah.
Verse 6, brother.
Okay. This Ezra went up from Babylon, and he was a ready scribe in the law of Moshe, which Yahweh Elohim of Israel had given, and the king granted him all his requests according to the hand of Yahweh his Elohim upon him. And there went up some of the children of Israel, and of the priests, and the Levites, and the singers, and the porters, and the Nethinims unto Jerusalem in the 7th year of Artaxerxes the king.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to Jerusalem in the 5th month, which was in the 7th year of the king. For upon the 1st day of the 1st month began he to go up from Babylon, and on the 1st day of the 5th month came he to Jerusalem, according to the good hand of his Elohim upon him. For Ezra had prepared his heart to seek the law of Yahweh, and to do it, and to teach in Israel statutes and judgments. And this is the copy of the letter that the king Artaxerxes gave unto Ezra the priest, the scribe, even a scribe of the words of the commandments of Yahweh, and of his statutes to Israel. Artaxerxes, king of kings, unto Ezra the priest, a scribe of the law of the Elohim of heaven, perfect peace, and at such a time. I make a decree that all day of the people of Israel and of his priests and Levites in my realm, which are minded of their own free will to go up to Jerusalem, go with you.
Mm-hmm.
For as much as you are sent of the king and of his 7 counselors to inquire concerning Yehudah and Jerusalem, according to the law of your Elohim, which is in your hand, and to carry the silver and gold, which the king and his counselors have freely offered unto the Elohim of Yisrael, whose habitation is in Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
And all the silver and gold that you can find in all the province of Babylon, with the free will offering of the people and of the priests, offering willingly for the house of their Elohim, which is in Jerusalem, that you may buy speedily with this money bullocks, rams, lambs, with their meat offerings and their drink offerings, and offer them upon the altar of the house of your Elohim, which is in Jerusalem. And whatsoever shall seem good to you and to your brethren to do with the rest of the silver and the gold, that do after the will of your Elohim. The vessels also that are given you for the service of the house of your Elohim, those deliver you before the Elohim of Jerusalem. And whatsoever more shall be needful for the house of your Elohim, which you shall have occasion to bestow, bestow it out of the king's treasure house. And I, even I, Artaxerxes the king, do make a decree to all the treasurers which are beyond the river, that whatsoever Ezra the priest, the scribe of the law of the Elohim of heaven, shall require of you, it shall be done speedily unto 100 talents of silver, and to 100 measures of wheat, and to 100 baths of wine, and to 100 baths of oil, and salt without prescribing how much. Whatsoever is commanded by the Elohim of heaven, let it diligently be done for the house of the Elohim of heaven. For why should there be wrath against the realm of the king and his sons? Also we certify you that touching any of the priests and Levites, singers, porters, Nethinims, or ministers of this house of Elohim, it shall not be lawful to impose toll, tribute, or custom upon them. And thou, Ezra, after the wisdom of your Elohim that is in your hand, set magistrates and judges, which may judge all the people that are beyond the river, all such as know the laws of your Elohim, and teach them that know them not. And whosoever will not do the law of your Elohim and the law of the king, let judgment be executed speedily upon him, whether it be unto death, or to banishment, or to confiscation of goods, or to imprisonment. Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of our fathers, which have put such a thing as this in the king's heart, to beautify the house of Yahweh, which is in Jerusalem, and have extended mercy unto me before the king and his counselors, and before all the king's mighty princes. And I was strengthened as the hand of Yahweh my Elohim was upon me, and I gathered together out of Israel chief men to go up with me.
Okay, now y'all wrote down that figure, 457 BC. Now remember, time is coming down to zero. Okay, now let's go to Nehemiah. It's the next book behind Ezra. Nehemiah 1, and pick that up at verse 1.
The words of Nehemiah the son of Hakaliah. And it came to pass in the month Kislev, in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan the palace, that Hananiah, one of my brethren, came, he and certain men of Yehudah, and I asked them concerning the Jews that had escaped, which were left of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. And they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity there in the province are in great affliction and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. And it came to pass, when I heard these words, that I sat down and wept and mourned certain days, and fasted and prayed before the Elohim of heaven, and said, I beseech thee, O Yahweh Elohim of heaven, the great and terrible Elohim that keepeth covenant and mercy for them that love him and observe his commandments, let your ear now be attentive and your eyes open, that you may hear the prayer of your servant, which I pray before you now, day and night, for the children of Israel, your servants, and confess the sins of the children of Israel, which we have sinned against you. Both I and my father's house have sinned.
Now this is Nehemiah talking about he done sinned. See? Folks find a problem with you when they find out that you sin, but then you're reading the prophets and they telling you how much they sin. See? You know what happens then? They become judges. They become judges of another man's servants.
They don't realize what the saying is. We are just men being made perfect.
Right, right.
That's what they don't see. Huh?
They don't understand what the scripture says. Blessed is the man to whom Yahweh will not impute iniquity. The only way that we can be saved, brothers, that Yahweh does not impute iniquity to us. But why should he not impute iniquity to us if we don't do the worship and the service that we're supposed to do?
Because
see, folks forget why they're called the NCCI. Folks come in, they hear the word, and you know what they say? Well, I'm going to believe about this, what I want to do. And some folks just do shoddy works or don't do the works at all. Not understand like what Peter said, show me your faith without your works, and I'll show you my faith by my works, you see. Like Paul said, some folks working not at all, but are busybodies, right? Right, right. Go ahead now, read Steve.
Verse 7. We have dealt very corruptly against thee, and have not kept the commandments, nor the statutes, nor the judgments which you commanded your servant Moshe. Remember, I beseech thee, the word that you commanded your servant Moshe, saying, if you transgress, I will scatter you abroad among the nations. But if you turn unto me, and keep my commandments, and do them, though there were of you cast out unto the uttermost part of the heaven, yet will I gather them from thence, and will bring them unto the place that I have chosen to set my name there.
And how does he do that? He sends servants out to gather the sheep that to return to the land. Ain't nobody going to wiggle their nose and everybody jump up and run. Things have to be done decently and in order. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 10. Now these are your servants and your people, whom you have redeemed by your great power and by your strong hand. O Yahweh, I beseech thee, let now your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servant and to the prayer of your servants who desire to fear your name, and prosper, I pray you, your servant this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man, for I was the king cupbearer.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass in the month Nisan, in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king, that wine was before him. And I took up the wine and gave it unto the king. Now I had not been before time sad in his presence. Wherefore the king said unto me, why is your countenance sad, seeing you are not sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then I was very sore afraid, and said unto the king, let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad, when the city, the place of my father's graves, lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? Then the king said unto me, for what do you make request? So I prayed to the Elohim of heaven. And I said unto the king, if it please the king, and if your servant have found favor in your sight, that you will send me unto Yehuda, unto the city of my father's graves, that I may build it. And the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, for how long shall your journey be? And when will you return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. Moreover, I said unto the king, if it please the king, let letters be given me to the governors beyond the river, that they may convey me over till I come into Yehuda. And a letter unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the palace, which appertain to the house, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me according to the good hand of my Elohim upon me.
Praise Yah.
Then I came to the governors beyond the river, and gave them the king's letters. Now the king had sent captains of the army and horsemen with me. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the servant the Ammonite heard of it, it grieved them exceedingly that there was come a man to seek the welfare of the children of Israel. So I came to Jerusalem and was there 3 days. And I arose in the night, and I and some few men with me, neither told I any man what my Elohim had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem, neither was there any beast with me, save the beast that I rode upon. And I went out by night by the gate of the valley, even before the dragon's well, and to the dung port, and viewed the walls of Jerusalem, which were broken down, and the gates thereof were consumed with fire. Then I went on to the gate of the fountain and to the king's pool, but there was no place for the beast that was under me to pass. Then went I up in the night by the brook, and viewed the wall, and turned back, and entered by the gate of the valley, and so returned. And the rulers knew not whither I went, or what I did, neither had I as yet told it to the Jews, nor to the priests, nor to the nobles, nor to the rulers, nor to the rest that did the work. Then said I unto them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, and let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach. Then I told them of the hand of my Elohim which was upon me, as also the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work.
Okay, my brother. So we see that Ezra was sent back to rebuild the city and the temple, and that Nehemiah, when he went back, he started to rebuild the wall, right? Now, we read that the commandment went forth in 457 BC, right? Okay. Now, let's go into St. Mark 1 and read verse 1 through verse 11. St. Mark 1, 1 through 11. Now, if any of y'all got a book, got a good book, they got a date in it. If you look at the date, it's 26 AD. Am I correct? Okay, if it's 26 AD, now add that to 457, and that'll give you the 483 weeks of years that was talked about in Daniel. If you add 26 to 457, you should come out 483 years. Now remember, he told him that he had 69 weeks, right? 69 weeks. Those were weeks of years. 69. If you do your figuring on that, you come up with 483 years. 69 times 7 equals 483. Right? Okay. Pick this up. Let's pick this up exactly 483 years after the commandment went forth. Mark 1 and pick it up at verse 1.
69 times 7.
69 times 7.
Verse 1.
You got it? Time came down to 0, which gave you 457 years, right? Now we up to year 26 AD. So that should give you 483 years, which equals 69 weeks of years. Okay. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 1. The beginning of the gospel of Yeshua HaMashiach, the son of Elohim. As it is written in the prophets, behold, I send my messenger before your face, which shall prepare your way before you. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare you the way of the Adonai, make his path straight. Yohanan did baptize in the wilderness, and preached the baptism of repentance for the remission of sins. And there went out unto him all the land of Judea and they of Jerusalem, and were all baptized of him in the river of Jordan, confessing their sins. And Yohanan was clothed with camel's hair, and with a girdle of a skin about his loins. And he did eat locusts and wild honey. And preached, saying, there cometh one mightier than I after me, the latchet of whose shoes I am not worthy to stoop down and unloose. I indeed have baptized you with water, but he shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost.
And you know what? John didn't hang out with the folks. John stayed in the desert. You know why? He knew what Israel was all about. John separated himself from the children of Israel until the time of his ministry came about, and then that's when he showed up to take care of his ministry, because he knew he didn't have long to stay here. Go ahead and read, brother.
Mark chapter 1, verse 9. And it came to pass in those days that Yeshua came from Nazareth of Galilee, and was baptized of Yohanan in Jordan. And straightway coming up out of the water, he saw the heavens open, and the Spirit like a dove descending upon him. And there came a voice from heaven saying, You are my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased.
Now, once he received that baptism and once he received that Spirit, now he is the Prince of Princes. Now this is the Prince that Daniel was telling us about. Now that the 10% of Yahweh's portion from among our fathers returned to Zion according to the prophecy. Why? To produce the holy seed in their land. That was their purpose, to produce the holy seed. We got a different purpose. Each kingdom had a different purpose. Israel had different purposes at different times. Our father's purpose was to settle the land and to produce the Messiah. Our purpose is to bring forth the fruit that is meet for repentance. Daniel 11, and pick that up at verse 33 through chapter 12 and verse 13, brother. Daniel 11 and verse 33 through chapter 12 and verse 13. Let's go and pick this up. What we're going to pick this up is in the year of 168 BC. 168 BC. And we're going to pick it up. The thing that's going to take, well, we'll read it. Go ahead, brother. Daniel 11 and verse 33 through chapter 12 and verse 13.
And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days. Now when they shall fall, they shall be helped with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the Elohim of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the Elohim of his fathers, nor desire women, nor regard any Elohim, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries, and shall overflow and pass over.
So we're talking about now, George Bush talked about a crusade. The Arabs start talking about jihad. Now we're talking about jihad and a crusade, both of them fighting against each other. The Christians trying to overthrow the Muslims, which is the Antichrist, the king of the south. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 41. He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon.
He shall also enter into Jerusalem, the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, the people that's in Jerusalem now, Edom, Moab, and the chief of the children of Aram. That's Esau and the Palestinians that's in the land now, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 42. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his step. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet shall he come to his end, and none shall help him.
Right. The news that he's going to hear is that those 10 kings that hated the whore, they're going, in Revelation, they're going to destroy Vatican City, right? This is when the Pope sets his palace in between the seas and the glorious holy mountain of Jerusalem, and he will be in the city when Judah invades Jerusalem. But go ahead and read, brother.
Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of your people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time your people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book.
Not all folks, but everyone, all of the Israelites that are found written in the Lamb's book of life, they're going to be delivered. The rest of them, they're going to die by the sword. You got to understand, Yahweh's already told us that he's going to only save 1 in 3 of us. Mm-hmm. See, that's why I tell you, you got something, you got something in NCCI you're supposed to be doing, do it. Because if you don't do it, I'm going to move you out the way and put somebody else there. You know why? The job has got to be done. And people has to be prepared for the coming of the Messiah. We ain't got time for folks to say, well, I don't think I want. If you don't, move out the way and let somebody else who will. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt.
Now, let's not get that bent out of shape, because it's only those that's going to receive salvation that's going to wake out the dust at the return of the Messiah. The rest of the people is going to sleep during that 1,000 years and be woke up after the 1,000-year period to face the great white throne judgment for one purpose, to be thrown in the lake of fire. Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn away, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. Mm-hmm. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Mm-hmm. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other 2, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times and an half, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. Mm-hmm. And I heard, but I understood not. Then said I, O my Adonai, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, go your way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed to the time of the end.
Right, Daniel, you don't need to know this. This thing here is closed up until the time of the end. I'm going to reveal this thing to my servants, and they're going to reveal it to our people. And y'all know that the things that y'all understand about this beast and all that stuff, y'all know where y'all got this knowledge from. Go ahead, brother. Any inkling that this empire was even mentioned in the scripture? Go on, brother.
Verse 10. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand.
The wicked is going to always be picking and always trying to sow discord and so forth, but the wise is going to understand and get that job done. Why? Because your salvation depends on it. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that make desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Mm-hmm. Blessed is he that waiteth and come to the 1,335 days. That was it.
Oh, read the next verse.
Oh, verse 13. But you go your way to the end shall be, for you shall rest, and stand in your lot at the end of the day. Okay,
my brother. Now, the period that we started reading about in the book, in Daniel 11 chapter, had to deal with the period of the beast, the time that's missing between Malachi and Matthew. You can pick that up in the Apocrypha if you care to read it. The Maccabees was called the hammer. That's what Maccabee mean, but we know that these were Judites. And what happened was on December 25th in 163 BC, Antiochus the Great invaded Zion, sacrificed the sow upon the altars. He compelled our fathers to eat swine's flesh and forbid temple worship and plundered the temple. Then Antiochus built an altar to Jupiter and proceeded to enslave great numbers of our people. These abominations provoked the people that had been sanctified, and they did great exploits in Yahweh's name during what is called the Maccabean period. After these heroes were killed in 143 BC, other family members started a new line of priesthood called the Hasmonean priesthood, and they united the civil and the priestly authority together to share that power. But the newly consolidated Hasmonean power possessed none of the virtues of their predecessors, so civil war resulted. And in 63 BC, Pompey conquered Judea, ending that civil war. Pompey changed Judea, he claimed Judea rather, as a Roman province, and gave John Hyrcanus, the last of the priests of the Hasmonean line, a menial position in Zion. But the real power was given to Antipater, the seed of Esau. And in 47 BC, Julius Caesar made that Edomite procurator of Judea and his brother Herod, the governor of Galilee. And in 40 BC, Herod was appointed king of the Jews, and Herod was king of Judea when Yeshua, the Lamb of Israel, was born. And I'm going to stop right there, and next week what we'll do, we'll pick this thing up in the New Testament.